It's week 16, and we have another amazing division matchup with major playoff implications on the line as the Lions fly over to Minneapolis to take on the Minnesota Vikings. Ryan, we saw the Lions absolutely dominate the Denver Broncos on Saturday evening, I would say, in week 15. In a game that we actually both picked the Broncos just the way both of those teams had been playing. Maybe the Lions had been watching our videos and got some motivation to be like, yeah, we're not losing to these schmoes, especially to Jared Goff watched our video because he went off for 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And I think that was like the Lions offense had gone through a little lull, it felt like, in the past couple of weeks, but they finally came back to that offense that we knew that they could be super explosive, could beat you in every which way. And kind of restored a lot more confidence in the Lions, and myself in the Lions. So I kind of want to throw it over to you here. Like, what are some of the expectations and objectives for both these teams, particularly too on the Vikings and what they have to do to potentially come out with an upset win here?
So for me, starting off with the Lions, I think they kind of got back to who they were. Jahmyr Gibbs, 11 carries, 100 yards, and a touchdown. And I think that is really what opened things up for Jared Goff. And he was extremely efficient, 24 of 34, 278 yards, and 5 touchdowns. That to me, I think, just kind of embodies who the Lions were in the beginning of the year. David Montgomery running for triple-digit yards. Jared Goff being efficient in the passing game, and then I mean they put up 6 touchdowns against one of the better defenses as of late. One of the reasons why I think we picked the Broncos in that matchup was just because they had been allowing one of the lowest QBRs of any team over the last 3 weeks, and Jared Goff had one of the lowest QBRs on his own throughout the last 3 or 4 weeks, and so it was just and he definitely had a really good bounce back week. It's a good time to start to pick things up again. And I think we're going to see a little offensive resurgence here for the Lions. And then going over to the Vikings, I was really impressed with kind of how they were able to move the ball against the Bengals. The Bengals did lose, I believe, DJ Reader in that matchup, and I think that softened things up in the middle and allowed them to run the ball a little bit easier. But Nick Mullins, for the most part, he made a few mistakes here or there, but that offense, he was on time with most of his passes against the Bengals, and I don't really see that changing, especially with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison healthy. That's going to be a daunting wide receiver duo for years to come up there in Minnesota. I actually thought this offensive line for the Vikings did a pretty good job of slowing down Trey Hendrickson and giving Nick Mullins time to drive the ball down the field. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. I do think the Lions might have a better overall pass rush than the Bengals. I also think they play a little bit more aggressive as well, and it's a division opponent. But I just think that this is going to be a high-powered matchup. I know that the Vikings are definitely injured as well. And one of the things, too, I thought the Lions' offensive line had been struggling a little bit the last few weeks, and I thought they held up pretty well against Denver on Saturday. And I think that's something we'll see continue. However, Brian Flores is blitzing almost 60% of the time. So I definitely think making sure Jared Goff knows where his hot routes are in some blitz beaters is going to be very important for the Lions.
Yeah, I completely agree with that here. It's going to be a lot of checkdowns. It's going to be a lot of quick passes. And that's where I think the Lions are really going to be able to exploit the Vikings is they're going to have to bring a lot of pressure, get the ball out of Jared Goff's hands, make him uncomfortable. What honestly has really been the detriment to the Lions so far this season, outside of maybe they could use a little bit of talent up front, I think, to your point, to help with the defensive line. And then maybe that's something that we'll talk about in their season recap and through the offseason coming up to the draft. But in general, though, it just has been kind of turnovers from Jared Goff. Not too many other areas in the offense have been inefficient. Either they're one of the top running teams in the league, and I even think passing wise, they're fourth overall in overall passing yards. It's just the 10 interceptions, 5 of which ironically actually have gone to the Bears. So that's what I think is pretty interesting about it. And so they have played the Bears twice in this past couple games stretch.
Well, not to bring up your Falcons, but I think you look at like Desmond Ridder. He had multiple 3 turnover games back to back. Jared Goff did the same thing. Like it's just so hard to win when your quarterbacks do that.
Yeah,
and I think we'll look back at that stretch and just be like, Jared Goff just played 3 horrible games in a row. And I think they were able to eke out one, but still.
Well, especially too, if you're gonna play 3 horrible games, better to do it in late November, early December, and then figure it out by mid-December. And so, especially too with everything on the line in this game, the Lions win this game. Not only do they clinch playoff spot, but then they clinch the division as they are 3 games up on the Vikings. Now, currently,
I think they're 4 games up on the Bears.
5 games up on the Bears, and then 4 games up on the Packers. The Packers and Bears are the Packers are still in the playoff hunt for sure. With all these teams at 7-7, Bears are probably out of it. But Lions can clinch the division here. It's going to be also major playoff implications as well too, because next week, even I need to go and double check, but I'm pretty sure. Aren't the Lions and Cowboys playing each other in Week 17? If I'm not, they're playing each other on Saturday, December 30th, on New Year's Eve. And so that's going to be a major playoff implication because right now with the Eagles losing last night, it is Dallas now has the number 2 seed, Lions are number 3 seed. So obviously for some major seeding there, it's going to be a fascinating game. I'm curious to see. Love to see Nick Mullins. I think the story's pretty cool. It's neat seeing his family there, seeing his son watch him start for the first time. It's going to be. I hope he can kind of keep that performance up because you're right. With all the weapons that they have in Minnesota, it really is kind of a shame everything that happened with Kirk Cousins. And it's not like injuries happen, and I hope he's able to come back because he is just a fun guy to watch. But the Nick Mullins story is also really fun one to watch. Hope he continues to play well. Hope it's a great game. But I think there's going to be a lot of blitz packages coming from Brian Flores. It's going to be their main way, I think, to stay competitive. Let's get into predictions here. But before we do that, if you have not already, like, subscribe, and ring the bell to get notified whenever we create new content. Right tonight, we have a goal of getting to 2,333 subscribers by the end of the new year, which is just about 10 days away now. So we're sitting at about 2206 last time we saw. So maybe there's an outside shot we get there with your help. So like, subscribe, helps reach our goal. And Ryan, who do you have winning this game and why?
I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions. I just think they're the better team in this matchup. And I don't want to overreact to what they did last week, but that's the kind of performance you want to see in late November. Especially beating the Broncos now isn't what it was last year when they were 2-15. They were a good team that came in there with some momentum coming off a big, decently big win, and they put them back in their place at the in the wild card hunt of the AFC. So that to me I think was what they wanted to do, and I think they're on the come up again.
Yeah. Now, I'm also going to go with the Lions here as well. I'm 8 games back to you in our season-long contest, and so I think it's going to be I think this is a tough one to pick against the Lions. I feel like I got to go with the favorite. You never know. Anything could happen, but I'm just feeling the Lions now are making a turn. In Minnesota, I don't think they're going to have the same performance against the Lions with Nick Mullins. So going to go with the Lions here in this one.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be a good matchup. Let's go ahead and wrap up this video here. Again, if you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Help Tyler and I reach our goal of getting to 2,333 subscribers. We would be very appreciative if we could reach that goal by the end of the year. And while you're down there, go ahead and leave a comment on who you think is going to come out ahead in this matchup. Is it going to be the Detroit Lions? Is it going to be the Minnesota Vikings? Other than that, we will see you guys next time.